Okay, today we're welcoming Ryan McInerney. Ryan, the most important thing about Ryan is that he was actually a member of the College of Business, and I remember advising him, so it's kind of unique to have one of the people that you know personally come back and be so successful, so I really want to congratulate Ryan on that. He's the Chief Executive Officer of the Chase Consumer Bank with about 5,200 branches, 1,600 ATMs, and about 75,000 employees. Previously at Chase, he was the Chief Operating Officer for Home Lending, Chief Risk Officer for Consumer Businesses, including the Retail Finance Services and Credit Card. He was also the Head of Product and Marketing for Chase Consumer Bank. Before joining J.P. Morgan Chase, he was the principal at McKinsey & Company, and he was a leader in the firm's retail banking and consumer credit practice. He lives in New York with his wife Angela, and the joy of his life is his 3 children, Egan, Quinn, and Sloan. With that, I'll turn the floor over to Ryan.
Thank you. Good morning. Can you guys stand up? Just stand up and face the group for me, please. Stand up and turn around and face the group. This is dedication to accounting like I've never seen ever. I mean, I got to tell you, this did not exist when I was on campus. I love the dedication, so great job, thank you. And if you were curious, yes, it is very uncomfortable to stand underneath a picture of yourself that's very large. I appreciate you guys being here this morning, although I realize you got to be here to get credit for the class, so, but thanks anyways. As Dean said, my name's Ryan. I graduated in '97. I grew up just about 2 hours north of here in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Anybody from Grand Rapids? No. I was born into a Notre Dame family. My father went to Notre Dame, my mother went to St. Mary's. Both my grandfathers went to Notre Dame. One of them played football actually for Rockney. I had a bunch of uncles that went here, a bunch of aunts that went here, a gaggle of cousins that went here. So as you might imagine, from an early age, my parents were indoctrinating me into the Notre Dame family. And so I thought I'd just kind of share a picture of that to get started. This is me when I was about a week old, trying to get comfortable with my Notre Dame community and my Notre Dame legacy, which was difficult for somebody who grew up in Michigan to do. Most of, didn't have many friends at this age, but maybe I had a couple. Most of them, went to school or their parents went to school at Michigan or Michigan State. So if there's one way to guarantee that your kid's going to get picked on growing up in Michigan, it's to raise him as a Notre Dame fan. But as I got older, I got much more comfortable with, what it means to be, a student at Notre Dame. And so as you can see, I really grew into what it's like to be a Notre Dame student. You guys might have Busch Light for breakfast. They didn't have that then, so this is just a can of Busch. But, I was off to a start from an early age. So what I thought I'd do today is try to spend a little time talking about just who I am, how I found to be doing what I do, share some personal stories that hopefully might be helpful to one of you. I'll try to also spend some time and talk about what do I do in my job. Right, so what does it mean to be the CEO of the consumer bank at Chase? And give you a sense of just what I do day in and day out, which is much less glamorous than you might expect. But I'll just try to give you a sense of what I do. I'll talk about what we're trying to do as a business. Right? What are we trying to do at the consumer bank at Chase? What's our focus and how do we plan to grow our business? And then finally, I'll give you a couple minutes on what I've learned for whatever it's worth, which is about what you paid for today. I just want to start by saying it'd be more fun for me, and I suspect more fun for you, if you ask me questions as we went. So I think I've saved time to do Q&A at the end, but feel free to interrupt me, disagree with me, challenge me, ask me questions, try to stump me. That's always fun, and I imagine might be fun for those of you sitting in the audience. So I'm not sure if it'll work, but give it a try. So as we're going through, feel free to raise your hand, stand up, shout something out if it'd be helpful, and I suspect it might be more interesting, to be honest, for all of you. So with that, I'll click through the pictures and start with What do I do? First, I'll explain how I got to be doing what I do. When I started at the university, and I feel very, very lucky for having come here, I had no idea about what I wanted to do, as I suspect many of you in the audience have no idea about what you want to do when you graduate. I feel today, looking back on my time at the university, that my 4 years on campus here shaped me more as a person, as a father, as a husband, as a business leader, than I think any 4 years of my life. And it's not just because the university has such great teachers, such great professors, such great classes. I really did learn a lot, and it's funny, even today I think back on little things I learned, whether it was in calculus or introduction to finance or any of the others. These little things that you learn, you actually do use them. It takes a while to figure out when they actually come, but you do use them. But the most important thing for me on campus and my time here, and why the 4 years were so incredibly important to who I am as a person, really was all of you. The university has a really unique, and I mean that in the true sense, a unique ability to draw a set of students that no other university or college around the world, as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I've seen, does. And so when I reflect back on the time that I spent in my dorm room, after class, in the bar, at the football game, whatever it was, the time that I spent arguing, disagreeing, enjoying, having fun with the students that I hung around with on campus really has shaped me more as a person than anything else that I've done in my life. So I would encourage you to take as much time as you possibly can to enjoy yourselves, have fun, spend time out of class. What you get out of your time at the University of Notre Dame will be, what you learn in the classroom is important. I believe you'll get even more out of the time you spend outside of the classroom. So, by all means, take the time and enjoy it. After I graduated, well, actually, before I graduated, my one plan senior year was I definitely wasn't going to go get a real job. I'd made that decision. I told my father. I went and visited him in his office, and I explained to him, as he now recounts to me this day, all the things that I wasn't going to do, which one of them was definitely go get a real job. I'd applied for Teach for America. I was in the application process for the Peace Corps. There's a whole bunch of things I was looking at doing, but going to get a real job wasn't one of them. I had a chance to meet some people from this consulting firm that I'd never heard of called McKinsey, who came to campus one evening, and I just really liked what they had to say. I thought it was an interesting idea to get to go, look at companies and study them and give them advice. And I thought it was a little bit, to be honest, humorous that they'd hire somebody who didn't know anything about anything to go work at a big company and try to give them advice on their strategy or what they were doing. And so I changed my mind, and I'm thankful for it because I really enjoyed being a consultant. I was at McKinsey for about 9 years. I lived in Pittsburgh, Sydney, Boston, DC, and Chicago, and I worked in Sao Paulo, Shanghai, London, a lot of parts in Western Europe, as well as a bunch of places in the United States. And so I took every chance that I could get to travel, to go work for companies that were in industries that I didn't know, that had questions I hadn't addressed before, and most importantly, in places and parts of the world where I hadn't been before. And then I had our first son. And I'd always said that I loved being a consultant, I loved traveling, I loved seeing the world, but it would be a very difficult way to raise a family. And so a week before my first son, Egan, was born, I joined JP Morgan Chase. It was right after Bank One and JP Morgan Chase merged. There was a CEO of Bank One named Jamie Dimon, and I'd had a chance to serve him as a consultant when I was at McKinsey and do some work for him. And he had reached out to me with an opportunity to join the bank to be the head of marketing for our consumer bank. And it was, it was an opportunity that I leapt at. I thought it was a great time to do it, bringing together two firms that had big consumer businesses with branches all over the country, and a chance to really get in the middle and figure out, what do we call this business? How are we going to brand it? What are the branches going to look like? What are people going to wear in the branches? What's going to be our voice and how we communicate with customers, our products, our services, all those types of things. And it was all of that. I really, really enjoyed the opportunity to join the firm, and I enjoyed the role. And after that, I went through a series of a couple other roles as a very unnatural thing for a marketer to do, which I wasn't, but I became a marketer in the job. I then moved into risk management. After that, I moved into operations, and then more recently, I took over about a year ago leadership for our consumer bank. So I'm just going to ask you guys, I may ask you to do this one or two times, so I apologize, to do a little participation with me for a sec. So could you just, if you are a Chase customer in any way, if you have a checking account, a student loan, a credit card, or anything, can you just stand up for a second? It's great. First of all, thank you for your business. Wait, no, don't sit down, don't sit down. You can't sit down yet. I know it's early on a Friday, by the way, so I appreciate you being here. And then if you would, this is about what it looks like. We have, about 20% of Americans are a customer of ours. If you are totally satisfied with all of your experiences at Chase, and so satisfied that you recommend friends and family members to come bank at Chase, you're an advocate for our business, and you're trying to convince other people to come bank at Chase, keep standing up. Everybody else sit down, please. I really appreciate your guys' business, so thank you. Okay, you guys can sit down. Thank you. I really mean that. Thank you for your business. My job as the CEO of our consumer bank at Chase is to get more of you guys to stand up and to get more of you guys to keep standing up. It's that simple. That's what I do for a living. And when I come into work every day, that's what I'm expected to do, is to find ways to get more people to want to come bank at Chase, to want to become credit card customers, and to want to become checking account customers, and to want to do their mortgage with Chase. And importantly, and much more difficult, is to get more people to be totally and completely satisfied with how we serve them, the products that we offer, and their relationship with Chase. And that's what we're focused on. That's how we're going to grow our business, and that's what I do every day. I'll talk more about that. So, as I mentioned, I'm responsible for our consumer bank, which is really, if you want to think about it, it's our branch business. The neat thing about my job is everybody that I come in contact with understands my business, because you're all banking customers. If we're not lucky enough to have you as a client yet at Chase, you're a client of somewhere else. You know what it's like to be a banking customer. You also know what really ticks you off when banks do it. So I get a lot of complaints, not just about what we do, but about the industry in general. And so it's a great job if you like engaging with people, because whenever I tell somebody what I do, there's almost no one that doesn't have a comment about something. The other thing that is neat and somewhat unique about our business at JP Morgan Chase is we're the front door for our firm. So we at Chase have a bunch of different businesses, and I'll go through them in a minute. But any one of those businesses, when something goes wrong, when people have a question, when somebody is just curious about something, more often than not, they'll walk into their local community Chase branch, whether that's in Lexington, Kentucky, or San Francisco, or Miami. If they're having a problem with something at Chase, they'll come into one of our branches. So, in our business, we're responsible for a bunch of products and a bunch of people and a bunch of services, but we also have a responsibility on behalf of the firm to be on our toes and be able to serve clients, which pretty much come in for any problem that they might have. What you see on this slide is kind of a sense of that and the different businesses that we have and what it means for our branches. At the top in the upper right, you can see, I guess it's the upper left, my business, our business, consumer banking. But if you think about it, there's clients that are small business owners that come into our branches with problems and challenges. There's clients who've bought JP Morgan investment funds and mutual funds who didn't get their statement, or their statement was wrong. They come into our branch. People who have auto loans and education loans and credit cards and certainly mortgages these days. All those consumer products were the front door for those businesses. But then also the wholesale businesses at Chase. Just starting at the bottom, we have commercial banking clients whose employees, so a commercial banking client might be somebody who has 100, 200, 300, 400 employees. Their employees get paid with Chase checks. They come in to cash those in our branches. The commercial clients bring in cash and coin to process in our branches. Treasury and Security Services is a business that issues products to customers across the country. For example, if you work at the federal government, you get paid with a debit card. Well, it's issued by Chase. When you have a problem, you turn it over, you see it's a Chase card, you go into one of our branches, et cetera, et cetera. Point being that we spend a lot of time with the 220,000 people at Chase trying to educate them that everything they do impacts the branches. And which is also why our people who work in the branches are such amazing people. They are able to deal, and they have to deal with problems every day, be on their toes, deal with angry clients. This is actually a picture of a bumper sticker that I made about 4 or 5 years ago and had several hundred of them printed up, and I just started sending them around to people around the firm. And when someone would make a decision, for example, to change a product or change a price and not tell us about it in the consumer bank, I would write them a note and I would say, you need to understand when you make a change, it affects somebody, and that somebody's going to come into our branches, and I'd attach the bumper sticker to it and kind of send those around the company, trying to get people to understand and appreciate when they sit in a conference room in New York or Texas or Florida or somewhere and make a decision, it affects people. And those people are going to come into our branches. And that's a big part of what I do every day and our team does every day, is be on our toes and try to help clients. To give you a snapshot of our business, we have about 20 million customers in our business. These are customers primarily that have checking accounts, savings accounts, debit cards, and those types of products, as well as a lot of the other products that we offer. If you were to add to that the customers who have just a credit card but maybe yet aren't a branch customer, that would add another probably 50 million customers to this page that are coming in and out of our branches every day. On our team, we have about 75,000 people. That includes everybody from a teller in one of our branches to a district manager, a branch manager, a personal banker, somebody who's in one of our branches trying to help people with service issues. It's a very big team. It's a wonderful team. It's a group of people who love people, love to help people, love to offer the products and services that we have. We have about 5,400 branches across the country. We're building a lot of branches. That number's going up every day. We span from Seattle to San Diego, from New York to Miami, from Milwaukee down to Houston, and are in most parts of the country, not all parts of the country. We'd like to be in other places that we're not, but we're in most parts of the country. We have about 16,000 ATMs. We have about $300 billion in deposits in our business, and we make about $5 billion. In pre-tax profit. The business is undergoing an enormous amount of change. When I started in the business about a year ago, we made about $6 billion. There's been a lot of change that's happened in the industry. As you can see, we make about $5 billion, and that number is going down, not up. The number's going down, not up, because of a lot of changes, many of which are out of our control. Due to changes in government regulations, due to what's going on in the world right now with regards to interest rates. I happen to be lucky enough to be in my role at a firm that has a wide array of businesses. And the benefit of being at JP Morgan Chase is when some businesses are under pressure, other businesses are doing well. We have enormous resources as a firm, and importantly, I'm lucky enough to have a leadership team that understands this business, believes this business is going to be enormously successful over the long term, and is willing and able to invest to grow the business, even at a point where we're under a lot of pressure. And so I'll talk through that in a couple minutes and why and how we're doing those things. I thought it'd be helpful to give you a sense of just what I do, and really what do I do, like day in and day out, is I remember, as I remember sitting in your chair, and for whatever it's worth, I literally sat in your chair. This building was opened when I was a junior. It's great. You run this business, you say these things, you're talking about customers, you stand up, you sit down, whatever. But what do you really do? Like, what does it mean? What do you do when you go to work every day? And I was thinking to myself about how I like to spend my time. So what I try to do is I try to spend about a third of my time in my office, about a third of my time out in the branches, visiting with our people in the branches, and about a third of my time in our big operation sites and our big operational headquarters. We happen to have a very big headquarters in Columbus, Ohio, where we have a lot of people who work. But the reality is, it never neatly works out that way. Just in real life, stuff happens, and I'll end up spending a whole month in the branches, or a whole month in the office, or things like that. And so I said, well, why don't I just take August and share with you what did I do in August? And August, I don't know if it was a typical month or not, but it was a crazy month. It just happened to be last month, so I picked it. So actually started a couple days before the beginning of August with the debt ceiling crisis. You guys remember that? You guys were on summer vacation, not really probably paying attention to anything. But there was a debt ceiling crisis in this country. And you might say, well, and I got a picture of Washington. I actually like to use this picture for Washington because I think it's more reflective of what's really happening there in terms of gridlock. But you might say, well, why does the debt ceiling crisis in the end of July matter to branches, right? I've got a pretty simple business. You guys all know it because you're in it. We have tellers. We have checking accounts. Like, what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is if Congress didn't get its act together and fix the debt ceiling issues that we had, we would have had an enormous number of our customers that would have been affected. Right? Starting with Social Security benefits recipients. If the Congress didn't lift the debt ceiling, there's a very good chance that our clients who live every day and every week based on the Social Security benefits that they get may have been affected. They may not have gotten their money. They may not have been able to buy groceries. They may not have been able to pay their rent. And so as it got closer and closer and closer, we started to think to ourselves, what do we do? What's our responsibility in this situation? Right? These are our clients. We know they get paid because we see their checks come in every 2 weeks. So we know they're good for it. And we know they need this money to live. And it's easy to say it's the government's problem, but what's our responsibility? Right? Should we actually help these clients? Because the government's going to fix the debt, or we believe the government was going to fix the debt ceiling crisis. And it may have taken a couple weeks, but it's possible that some people might have gone hungry during that time. Or how about our military service members? They're living abroad, their family's here, they have kids in elementary school, right? They're fighting in Afghanistan. It's possible that they weren't going to get their direct deposit from the government. What's our responsibility to help those families and to help those people? Nobody from the government was coming and saying, by the way, if we don't pay them, you should pay them. But we went through a lot of questions ourselves saying, what is our responsibility? Right? What would have you done? Right? If it turns out they didn't lift the debt ceiling and our clients who are Social Security benefits recipients or service members didn't get paid, if you were in my chair, what would you have done? Would you have put shareholders' capital at risk and maybe let those people spend some money they didn't have if they needed it? Or would you have said, listen, this is the government's problem, and the fact of the matter is life's tough, but it's not out of my control. It's not an easy question to answer, and it wasn't an easy problem to solve. But what we ended up doing was doing a lot of work and being ready so that we could help our clients with pretty much anything they needed. We had people study payment patterns of all of our customers that we thought might be affected. Look at when they were getting deposits. How much was that deposit? If you were getting $1,000 every 2 weeks from the government, we knew it, and we wanted to be ready to give you that purchasing power if you needed it, even if we hadn't underwritten you for a loan, even if you didn't have $1 in your account, because we thought it was the right thing to do. But it wasn't easy. And then more so, how do you actually operationalize that? And so starting on Saturday before the Tuesday, when I think they ultimately lifted the debt ceiling, we started assembling what we call a war room. And this just happens to be a picture of it from our unit in Columbus, Ohio. We flew people in from all around the country who knew the branches, who knew the markets, who knew our customers in those markets. We got them all in a room with the experts, the people who understood risk, people who understood our technology, the people who understood PR because the press was going to be a big deal. We got them in the room. I was there all weekend, and we hunkered down, and we figured out how we were going to help our clients. And right up until when the Senate finally passed the debt ceiling, we were ready to help our clients in any way that we needed. We also went out in the branches and we stocked more cash in the branches because we thought people might start to take money out if they got nervous about the government. We had extra people on hand to help people in and out of safety deposit boxes. We stayed open later. We did all the things that we could to help our clients. So that's how we started August. And then that took me through about halfway through that week. I went back to the office, and then the next week we went on a bus ride. We took a road trip. So the second week in August, Jamie, Diamond, myself, and a guy named Todd Macklin, who's responsible for most of our consumer businesses at the firm, we got on a plane. We flew out to Seattle. We got in Seattle. We spent the night. We woke up, and we got on a bus. We happened to do this, by the way, the week before Obama went on his bus tour. Does anybody, I know it was summer, does anybody remember Obama's bus tour? So we happened to do this right before the week, and I didn't know he was doing his bus tour, but so we got on the bus in Seattle, and we drove for a week. We drove from Seattle to San Diego, which is a wonderful drive. And you might ask yourselves, why did we do that? Why did we go get on a bus and drive from Seattle to San Diego? And you might think, why did I do that? But why is Jamie doing that? Somebody who runs a very big corporation. Why is he on this bus? The reason was so we could talk to our people. So we could talk to our people, and we could listen and learn about what's working, what's not working, what's broken, how do we fix it. So we made about 30 stops between Seattle and San Diego. We did rallies, we went to branches, we did branch openings. Most importantly, every time we stopped, we'd take hostages, what we called them. We'd take hostages. So we'd take a teller and a branch manager and district manager and a business banker and a financial advisor. We'd get them on the bus, we'd lock the door, and we'd drive from, from Sacramento to Monterey, and we would just quiz them. What's broken? What's not working? What are we doing that's making it hard for you to help customers? What are we doing that just ticks you off? Right? Why are you unhappy? I took furious notes, and we came out of the trip 30 stops and 30 legs with hostages over a week. I had a notebook full of things that we can then take back and fix. Products that we need to fix, branch hours that we need to make longer. Go ahead.
Can you share with us some of those things?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I should have brought my 3-ring binder. I've got a whole binder full of them. The people that got on the bus told us a whole wide range of things. They said, first of all, when I have a client come in, has anybody ever been the victim of identity theft or fraud on their checking account, debit card, anything like that? Just raise your hands high. Right, so it's a very, very difficult process. Is that fair? And it's emotional. And it is, to be honest, in the scheme of things, kind of a new thing for us in the industry. I mean, it's always been there, but the rise of identity theft over the last couple of years has just been amazing. We haven't been supporting our branches with enough to help people like you when you come in. And we heard it loud and clear from our people. They said it's a total pain in the neck to help our clients. I'm on hold. I don't have experts. They don't know what to do. We heard that. We heard from some of the branches, we need to have longer hours. We heard from some of our people that the fees we're charging customers on our products, they're not fair. We need to fix them. We heard from our clients, from our people, that the way that they're getting training right now isn't encouraging what they're hearing us say that we want. So we went and we're looking at all of our training and how do we overhaul it to focus on the things that we want. Some of that I'll explain to you in a couple minutes. Just over and over in real stuff. Real stuff that is hard to get. To be honest, it's hard to get sitting in your office. And that's one of the things that, and I give Jamie a lot of credit for this, and I've learned a lot from him on this front. You have to get out in the field. I don't care what business you're in. In my business, it's easy. I can wake up and pick any one of 5,400 branches to go to in the country and know what that means. But in other businesses, it's hard. Like, what does it mean to get in the field? If you're an accountant, what does it mean to get in the field? If you're an investment banker, what does it mean to get in the field? But every one of the businesses that you're in and every one of the businesses that you serve, if you're in a client service business, they all have customers. They all have clients. Every business is in business to serve clients. And if you get too separated from that, you just lose touch and you won't be good. You won't be as good as you can be. And so it was fun. I've got a little video clip later I'll show you. I brought a couple little video clips just to keep everybody up maybe, that I'll show you later from the bus trip to give you a sense of what we were doing. So we went on a road trip. That was the second week in August. And then, I didn't actually look at a calendar. It gets a little fuzzy after that, but I'll share a couple things with you that I know happened in August. We had a very bad robbery. The hardest part of my job is dealing with robberies. First, I'll explain the picture because you're probably looking at it, and I'll come back to this. This is my son's favorite robbery picture. If you're the son of a banker, these are the types of things you do. So this is actually a picture from a branch in New York where somebody came in dressed as Darth Vader and robbed the bank. And I share it with you because it's a picture that was in the newspaper. It's not anything that needs to be secret. But it is the hardest part of my job. We get robbed every day. In fact, we get robbed more than every day. We got robbed, plus or minus 500 times last year. And it's just a reality of banking. And every day when I get a message about the fact that we've been robbed, my heart just sinks. Because I know that 4 people who come into work every day as a teller, as a banker, as a branch manager, as an assistant branch manager, it is so hard to train somebody for that. I mean, how do you train for it? I know we don't pay people enough for it, it's such an emotional, hard experience to be in the 4 walls of a place, and somebody who's in there, they may have a gun, they may not have a gun, but they're robbing you. I mean, just imagine. And it happens in August that we had an especially bad robbery. Everybody's okay, I'll tell you, but it reminded me that I don't do enough as a leader, I don't do enough as a person for our branches that get robbed. We have an amazing support network for our people, for when they have any difficulty, whether they are robbed or not robbed, and we have all kinds of things. But I, as a person, what I came to realize sitting it was a weekend, it was a Saturday, sitting at home with my families, I was like, I need to do more, right? I need to do more to help our people with respect to when they get robbed, and so I'm just myself doing things different. I try to call every single branch that gets robbed, every day when they get robbed, and just let them know we're thinking, is there anything I can do? Is there anything you're not getting from the firm? But the reality of my job and the reality of our business is this is part of what we do. And then Miss Irene showed up. Anybody from the East Coast, raise your hand. Okay, were you at home for Irene, or were you already back here? You guys were here? So Irene was a big deal. And in our business, we've learned a lot from hurricanes. Katrina, we're the biggest bank in New Orleans and Louisiana, and Katrina kicked us in the backside. And we absolutely, it was one of the most difficult times, probably the most difficult time we've ever gone through as a retail business. It was also one of the best learning experiences we've ever had. That war room I showed you earlier, and the ability in 24 hours to call people in from around the country, set up the war room, be ready to serve all of our branches, that came out of Katrina. We had a lot of other innovations come out of Katrina. The ability to have cellular ATMs, the ability to have branches in trucks, the ability to help our clients when we don't have power, all those types of things. And we needed to figure out how to mobilize that in a part of the country where we've never really had hurricanes before in New York and the surrounding areas. And so, again, I came in, I think Saturday, we started working full time, all weekend long, getting ready for Irene. We had to make sure that our people were safe. We had to make sure that we had ways to communicate with our people if they didn't have electricity. How are we going to get branches open? How many branches are we going to get open? We only have, say, 30 generators. So if we have 400 branches that are down and you have to pick 30 branches to get open, which 30 do you pick? How do you pick? How do you pick which 30? How do you know? And then how do you tell anybody that they're going to be open when a lot of people aren't going to have power? And so we had to go through all those types of things, make decisions quickly, figure out how to get that communication. If you got a bunch of people who are impacted by the hurricane, how do you get them to work? Can we get buses? Will the buses be able to get around? All those types of things, figuring out how can we do everything we can to help our people and get open for business the next day to help our clients. We stayed open late before the hurricane. We gave customers a lot of information, but it was a crazy time. It's also why I love this business. Right, trying to figure out how do we help 70, not in this case 75,000 people, in this case probably 10,000 people. They're all going to have their own personal stories, and also get them motivated enough and give them the support they need to come into work after their families, trying to deal with figuring out how to get their house, the water out of the basement, those types of things. So that was Irene. And then I cheated a little bit here because this was in September, but we had the same thing happen we thought was going to happen in San Diego. Anybody from San Diego? Right? Did your parents lose electricity? Yeah, so this just came out of nowhere. Bam! San Diego doesn't have any power. Whoa. We got a lot of branches in San Diego. First question I asked is, what about the alarms in those branches? So this is now, it was I think 6:30, 7 o'clock at my house. I think I was having a glass of wine with my wife. And like, wow, what do we do about those branches? Can they get robbed? Are the alarms going to go off? Are the police going to be able to get there? Who's going to know about it? So, working through all those issues, and then what if the power doesn't come back on tomorrow? Again, are the branches are they going to be able to open? Are they safe? Or do we want to send our people to work in the branches? If there's not going to be an alarm, working through all those types of issues was what we did. And then, I think this is the final one on this front, Christmas in August. So that's a picture of my office. I took it on my BlackBerry last week when I knew I was going to come here. So they're down now, but I had Christmas trees all up in my office. Anybody want to guess why? Why would I have a bunch of Christmas trees up in my office in New York City in August? Go ahead. Year ends? That's a good question. Nope, we're on normal calendar year. Or a good idea. Anybody else? Okay, so here's the deal. You got something? No. Okay. You're just laughing at me. No, I thought you had an idea. Okay, so here's the deal. I make mistakes all the time. I make mistakes every day. I've already made mistakes today. I made a big mistake last year, right when I was pretty new in this job. So we've had a policy of no Christmas trees in our branches. We've had it for like 10 or 15 years. You could say it's a good policy, a bad policy. The truth of the matter is that this issue that I'm about to describe to you is a no-win. There's no right answer. But we've had a policy of no Christmas trees in our branches. And a branch in Dallas had a customer who donated a tree to them. It's a gorgeous tree, beautiful tree. He does this for a living. It was gorgeous. The branch put it up, and that was that. It was, I don't know, mid-December, something like that. It's the holiday spirit. It's Christmas time, and somehow a market manager or district manager learns about this and escalates it up to a region manager, and all the tough things end up on my desk. And so the question came is, we have a branch in Dallas that has a Christmas tree up. What should we do? These are not the fun ones to take. So I was pretty new in my role. What's our policy? Policy, no trees. Tell them to take the tree down. Big mistake in hindsight. So anybody from Dallas? Right? So Dallas has a very strong Christian community. And you're nodding. You're from Dallas? No, but you know that, right? Most people know that. They were in an uproar because the client got upset. Client said, well, listen, I did this tree. I gave it to you. If you didn't want it, why'd you put it up? And if you put it up, why'd you take it back? Or why are you making me take it back? Well, we made him take it down. So he made a stink, went to local papers. Local papers had a field day with it. National right-wing radio picked up the local papers. National media picked up the right-wing radio. Next thing you know, I'm pretty new in my job, and Jamie's office, his phone, he's got all these red lights. It's just ringing off the hook about why we made our branches take down Christmas trees. Why don't we like to celebrate the holidays? Why are we against Christmas? Yada, yada, yada. It was just a mistake. The tree shouldn't have gone up, but because that was the policy, right? We can debate the policy. But when the tree was up, I shouldn't have made him take it down. It was just one branch. It's just no big deal. It was especially because a client gave it to us and we took it. So anyways, what I've been trying to figure out is what should our policy be this year? Should we allow branches to put up trees or not? Right? Because I want to actually, whatever we decide to do this year, it'll be my decision. I didn't actually make the policy last year, but I want to make the decision myself. I want to come up with the right policy, and then we'll live by it. And I can, it'll either be a good decision or a bad decision. But the beauty, which I tell people all the time, is there's no right answer. If we let the branches put up trees, we're going to get complaints. If we don't let them put up trees, we're going to get complaints. And so one of the options we have is let them put up trees, which I'm leaning toward right now. I haven't made the decision. I need to make it by Friday, and I really don't want to make the decision. If we let them put up trees, I said, I want to see all the trees. So tell me show me the trees. I want to see the types of trees, how they're going to look. Because if we're going to let branches put up trees, I want them to all put up the same tree, and I want to see it. So right now, last week, my office was full of trees. Oh yeah, and I was also in August, I was on summer vacation with my family, which I strongly encourage you, take advantage of all your vacation when you have a chance. Don't ever work over vacation. Always take the chance to get away from work. It'll always be there when you get back. So let's talk about our business. I've described a little bit about what our business is. I've described a little bit about, who I am and what my role is. Let's talk about, what is our focus and how we're going to grow our business other than better execute Christmas tree decisions. And I'm going to ask you to just do an audience participation for me on this. So I want to know, what is your instinct on which of these is most important for growing a business? Okay, I'm going to put up a list of words. I'm going to give you about 3 or 4 seconds to look at them, and then I'm just going to ask you on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, say it. Say whichever one you think is most important. And by the way, this is whether it's Chase or Apple or Exxon or whoever. Okay, is that fair? You guys get it? It's not that hard. All right, so this is the list. Which of these is most important for growing a business? 1, 2, 3. It's beautiful. You would not believe how many people in business forget that. You would not believe how many people, whether they're at my company or any other company out there, by the way, the bigger the company, the more likely they are to forget it. How many people think it's products, it's technology, we're going to be more efficient, we're going to have better marketing, a better brand. How many people forget that it's customers that drive any business? Every business is in business for one reason and one reason only, to serve clients. I don't care what business you're in. Even if you're a hedge fund, unless it's all your own money, in which case you're the client, you're trading to help your clients get a better return. For whatever reason, the longer you're in business, the more senior you get in business, from my observation, people forget about clients. People forget about customers. So this was just my way of saying you guys are most important. It's the best picture I could find of this room. And that's what really we're, in our business, in the business that I have the privilege of leading, that's what we're trying to reinvest in, reinvent, and re-educate ourselves on. If you go back over our history, this happens to be a kind of a family tree of JP Morgan Chase. All the banks that really make up who we are today. I know you can't see it, so I apologize, but you get the sense of it. We have a lot of great banks that through their history have been amazing service organizations, community banks, local banks, but for whatever reason, we've gotten too far away from that. And in some ways, we've buried it under reports and under red, green, yellow dashboards and under mountains of paper. And we forgot that our job is to support the branches and to support our customers. And that's what we're really focused on every day. I think the best analogy that might help is Home Depot. So I look at Home Depot. I think they're a great example. This happens to be a picture of their world headquarters. And Home Depot out in front of their world headquarters has a big sign that says Store Support Center. Like, that's their job. Just reminding employees they come in every day that they work for the stores and the stores work for the customers. Right? At the top of the org chart is the customer. Then there's the frontline people, in our case, tellers and bankers, in their case, the associates in their stores. And then there's everybody else, and people like Jamie Dimon are at the bottom. And that's how we want to run our company. That's the journey that we're going through. And for whatever, as a customer of Home Depot, if you went in their stores 5, 10 years ago, it was an amazing experience. They then had a leadership team that came in and was very focused on efficiency. They'd been brought in from GE, and for whatever, the service in the place started to go in the tank. And there's a new management team there, and they recently did something. They took all the reports out of the stores. Because what was happening is the store managers were spending hours in their office every day trying to figure out all these reports that people were asking them to manage to, and they weren't on the floor. They weren't with their people. They weren't helping clients. And when they ripped out all those reports, well, they had to be on the floor. They had to go out and help clients. They had to grow their business in the way that a real owner would. And I think it's been a great turnaround for them, and I think it's a great lesson for us as a firm and others. So if you just say, how are we going to grow? Like, what is our focus at Chase, and how are we going to grow? There's a couple things. One is just really becoming as like what one of our board members, David Novak, who runs Yum Brand, says, being absolute customer maniacs. Absolute customer maniacs. What do customers want? How are we going to give it to them? What do they hate? How are we going to fix it? Right? Understanding what our customers want and building a business to give it to them. Thinking differently. So, one of the things our customers tell us is they want convenience, and what that's meant over the years is more branches. What it means today is different. Now, I'll show you a little bit of that in a second. We still need to be in neighborhoods. No matter what happens, and if anybody has questions on this branches and bricks and mortar versus online, I'd be happy to talk about it. Our view is branches continue to remain very important for our business. And we don't have enough branches in the places where enough of our customers live. The fourth thing is segment. Right? The biggest mistake that we can make is think banking customers are all the same. Like, somebody would say, you guys are all students. We should have student products. Well, the reality is you're all different. Right? You're different types of students. You have different needs. You have different plans on what you're going to do in your lives. So we're just trying to go through our business and everything we do and segment it to be as relevant as we can. And then finally, and as hopefully a result of those things, do what I said earlier, which is have more of you guys stand up and more of you be able to keep standing when I ask. So let's talk about becoming a customer maniac. So this is a poster we put up on our branches recently. But we're trying to make it a lot more than that. So in my business, how many complaints do you think we get every month, that I get every month? Throw out a number, just say something. Got to say it loud. 1,000,000. Not 1,000,000, but I appreciate the start. And what else? 1,000, 100, what? 3,500. We get about 40,000 complaints. I get about 40,000 complaints, and I read every one of them. No, I can't. I read a lot of them, and between our team, we read every one of them, and we act on every one of them. But we get a lot of complaints, and so about 6-7 months ago, I just realized we have to turn this around. We have to kind of fight through the scar tissue that we've built into our business and tap back into what our people, when they used to work at a lot of those community banks that were on that tree, they used to be customer maniacs. They used to help customers. And so we got all of our district managers in a room. They wouldn't fit in this room, by the way. We have about 600 district managers. And we got all of our 600 district managers in a room, and we played over the loudspeaker for about an hour complaints. We just played them. And actually, I stood on a stage just like this and just played complaints and complaints and complaints and complaints. And what we realized is we just weren't focusing on the things that were frustrating our customers. And so we then, for the next day and a half in Dallas, we broke into dozens of different groups, and we tried to come up with who do we want to be, how do we want to become customer maniacs, how do we want to get rid of all these complaints, but more importantly, make our customers passionate about it. And what we came up with, were the 5 things that you see here. And they're just words until we really live by them, but we're on a journey to make these the core of what we do and be courteous and professional to our customers, which is really kind of the table stakes in this whole game. The hardest thing on this whole list is teaching our people to do the right thing, for people. I like to tell our people, if you find yourself in a situation where you're having to say no to a client, go get somebody else. Go check. Right? One person can say yes, but it should take 2 people to say no to one of our customers. building long-lasting relationships, owning customers' issues end-to-end. There's not one person in any one of our branches that can solve every one of our clients' issues, but every one of them can be with a client and make sure that we're solving it end-to-end and getting them the answers they need. And then finally, really going beyond and exceeding our customers' expectations. So let's take a 1-minute break here. I'll show you a quick video of, I mentioned we were on that road trip we were on, and a big part of what we were trying to do on that road trip, or what I was trying to do, was just check in with all of our people. Do they know these 5 things? Are they living these 5 things? Have they made it kind of unique and customized to their branch? And so I'm just going to show a quick video, and then we'll keep going.
We started Sunday up in Seattle. We've been working our way down. We're on a mission, and our mission is how we can serve our customers better. Anybody in the branch is familiar with the 5 things we've been working on to deliver a great customer experience? Anybody want to come up here and share it with the group? You want to come up? All right.
Always being professional and courteous, doing the right thing for your customers, owning customer issues from start to finish, building lasting relationships. That's the key. Exceeding expectations.
That is how we're going to grow our business, delivering great customer experience every branch, every day, every phone call, every letter we send, everything that we're doing. Thank you.
So every day, by the way, visiting the branches isn't like that. When I show up they don't not usually waving flags and pom-poms, but that was kind of a special trip that we were on. But that's what I'm trying to do. And we're a couple months into this journey, about 6 months or so. And I'll tell you, just from my own personal experience, the change in tone of the letters that I get from clients, the change in tone of the letters that I get from our people, our people are in this business because they want to do this. They want to help clients. And we're just trying to unshackle them, empower them, encourage them to help our people. And I really do believe that's how we'll grow our business. I mentioned earlier that we hear from customers that convenience matters. But this is a survey of people about why they choose a bank. What I'm trying to do is get our people to think differently about what convenience means. So has anybody here a client who's used our iPhone app to take a picture of a check and deposit it? You like it? Convenient? Right. So we ask customers not what do you want? They want convenience. What do you really want? Well, a lot of customers said, I want to be able to deposit a check and not leave my house. And so what we did is we came back, and a group of people who were about your age, by the way, just out of school, looked at a lot of different things we did and said, you know what, we could use text messaging. We could use the iPhone to let them take a picture of a check. You can't use the iPhone. No, you can. No, you can't. No, you can. And a bunch of young people in our business challenged us to think differently about what we do. And as a result, we continue to try to innovate different things. So, let people take a picture of their check with an iPhone or an Android phone. Let people pay money to other people just by having their email address. If I know your email address, I should be able to send you $100. Why not? Whether you're a Chase customer or not. Being able to issue debit cards in the branches and not have to wait 5 days to get them, or be able to move money back and forth just by sending a text message, which is what else is up there. Again, I'm just going to try to mix it up a little bit here, just show another quick 1-minute video to give you a sense of our advertising and how we're trying to bring some of these to life. The second ad, actually, I think it's a rough cut. We haven't released it yet, but you'll get the sense.
Going to the bank without going to the bank. That's a step forward. With Chase Quick Deposit on your smartphone, you just snap a picture, hit send, and done. Chase Quick Deposit. Take a step forward and chase what matters.
Keep on, keep on, keep on.
Everyone, it's $37
step forward. With Chase person-to-person quick pay, you can send money directly to your friend's checking account. All you need is their email address or mobile number.
Thanks, everyone.
So take a step forward and chase what matters.
And you know, the other thing that we're trying to do is think different about community. We spend a lot of time investing in our communities. Our branches are empowered and encouraged to do things in their communities. But again, encouraged by some of our employees who were more recently out of school, we launched a new program about a year ago called Chase Community Giving. Anybody familiar with it by any chance? So we still have some work to do on that. But basically the gist of it is, rather than doing all the things we normally do by writing a check to a foundation or a nonprofit, why don't we let our customers use Facebook to vote for where we should give money? Right? Why not? And so what we did is we did exactly that. It caused a whole bunch of new nonprofits who wouldn't have otherwise ordinarily had access to funds that we give in our community. And again, this is the last video I'll show, but I'm just going to show a quick 1-minute video of the group that won last year.
In January of 2010, the California-based nonprofit Invisible Children was the winner of the first Chase Community Giving $1 Million grant. They've since used that $1 million to try to end the longest-running war in Africa, in northern Uganda, by raising awareness with a lecture tour and a feature film. By helping former child soldiers find new lives. By rebuilding communities with business development and microloans. And by providing educational scholarships for Uganda's next generation of leaders. Millions of people coming together to make an impact. It's a new way forward for giving.
So the point I'm trying to get across to all of you is we need to think differently to win and to compete. And you, more than anybody else coming into businesses, know how to do that. Make sure you take that opportunity to challenge everything that the business you go to work for does. Some of the other things I mentioned, we're growing branches. We're going to build 300 branches next year. We're going to build 350 branches probably the next year. The next closest bank who's building branches will probably build 25. Why are we doing that? Is because we're not in the communities where our customers need us. So, as you look out over the next 4 or 5 years, we're going to add hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of branches, and that's going to help drive the organic growth in our business as well. As I mentioned, going through our products and our services and our people and who we hire and what languages they speak, we're just trying to continue to segment everything we do, invest in small businesses, create branch kind of stores within stores, or in our case, branches within branches, which is the new program called Chase Private Client that we're building to serve our more affluent customers. Give them a place in the branch to go that is a little more private with some of our best people. Students, all kinds of different multicultural segments as well. And then the final thing, the reason we want our customers to buy more of the products and services that we offer is because they stay longer. Right, and so this is, I think, the only other chart I have with numbers, so I apologize. But basically what this shows on the left-hand side is, the value of one of our customers who has a checking account but doesn't have a mortgage goes up 30% if they take a mortgage without even considering the value of the mortgage. They stay longer, they're happier, they've voted with their feet to choose our products and services. So just to close, I'll offer you 3 things that I've learned that have been important to me, in my career and as a person. The first is going to sound kind of hokey. It's also the hardest to do, which is tell the truth and find the truth. Right? It probably sounds like something out of Duloc or something from the Code of Conduct, right? For me personally, this has been the most important learning that I've had in business, and it's been the hardest thing for me to do. To tell the truth when somebody asks you what you really think. when I say to you, listen, I want you to go meet somebody. I'd like you to interview them for a half hour. I really want to hire them. I think they're great. I think they're going to be a great fit for you and the team. And I want you to meet them just to make sure you think the same. But I really want to know what you think, okay? So you're going to go meet this person, and you're going to interview one of the sweatshirt guys. And you're going to come back, and you're going to go, you're thinking to yourself, no way. They don't fit. They're not the right fit for this team. They're not going to work hard. Whatever it is. I don't mean to pick on you guys. I'm sorry. But you have a point of view. And now I'm going to ask you, what'd you think? It's great, right? I really want to hire him. I think it'll be great for our team. It is very, very, very hard to tell the truth all the time. And there's nothing more important. And it's how you will distinguish yourself as a person on the team. It's how you will distinguish yourself as a leader. It'll be uncomfortable. I promise you, all of you, 6 months into your new jobs, you're going to have a situation where you think something about a business problem, about a question, and it's going to be easier to say something else. And I can't encourage you enough. Always say what you believe. You will do better. You will be viewed as a stronger leader. Disagree, and take the opportunity to tell the truth whenever you can. Every time that I look back in my career and feel bad about something I did, it was because I wasn't honest with myself, or I wasn't honest with somebody who was working with me or I was working for. And the second part of this is find the truth. This is also hard, not as hard as the first, but just always find the details, dig through everything, try to get to the real heart of any issue by going deeper than anybody else so that you can be smarter and you can get to the truth of any given matter. You'll make better business decisions as a result. The second, there's only 3 of these, by the way, hang in with me. Make your own luck. If you ask people like me how they've gotten where they've gotten or what they've done, you'll often hear, I should say, listen, I was just lucky, which I tell people all the time. But the truth of the matter is, if you put yourself in positions to be lucky, you'll be luckier. Take risks. Raise your hand. Do different things. Travel. Take an opportunity to when somebody asks who's willing to do this, stick your neck out. Do it and be there. Odds are you'll be luckier. The luckier you will, the better and more successful you'll be. The truth of the matter is, a lot of the reasons that I've had the opportunities I've had is because I was lucky. But when I reflect back on it, I was lucky because I put myself in a position to be lucky. And then the final one is just get dirty. Roll around in the mud. I don't care what it is you do. There's always a chance to get into the details, and if you spend the time and you work hard enough and you get into the details more than others, you'll come to better points of view. You'll be a better leader. You make better decisions, and you'll put yourself in a position to add value more than anyone else will. So thanks for having me here today. I really appreciate it. And if there's any questions, if we have a couple minutes left, I'd be happy to answer anything from anybody.
Okay, for those of you who have 11:45 class, we know you have to leave. But beyond that, let's open up the floor to questions. And let's go ahead and start with the first question.
Yeah, go ahead.
We talked about robberies and irate and lives went up. Those are all problems that physical branches have to face. And so what if these customers, you eat banking, we also talked about that. You don't have to face those problems. So have you ever considered actually shutting down some of your branches and expand your e-banking services so that you don't have to face those problems that physical branch has to face?
Yeah, it's a great question, so thanks for asking it. Let me just take a survey real quick of the room. Raise your hand if you've been in a bank branch in the last 3 months. Right, so most of you. I'm going to go 80% because that's actually what our data shows for people that are about your age. So the answer to your question is we've absolutely considered it. We consider it all the time. We challenge ourselves with the question all the time. But what we found is that our customers want to go into branches. Now, having said that, our customers are demanding. They want the best online service they can. They want all the mobile products that I talked about. But what we've seen, what we found, what we ask our customers is, if we just shut down branches and all we had were those things, they would go to another bank. So we're doing the opposite. A lot of people find it to be a little bit contrarian, but we're actually building as many branches as we can build in places where we don't yet have them, because we want to offer customers the convenience to bank with us however they want. In the specific example of Irene that you were mentioning, unfortunately, most of these people didn't have power anyway. So if we didn't have branches open, they couldn't get on in Chase.com, and they couldn't use their mobile phone because it was probably out of battery because they haven't had a chance to plug it in. So in that case, having branches allowed us to serve millions more customers than we probably otherwise would have.
Next question.
This kind of goes along with the convenience thing. I'm currently thinking about switching to TD banks because they're open 7 days a week, and I think they're open until almost like 7 o'clock on weekdays.
They are, yeah.
What are the issues with implementing that? Like, is it just that people don't want to work those long hours, or what are the other issues like in having a bank that's essentially open every day of the week?
Yeah, I feel like Jamie planted this question in the room. He asks me this question all the time. So first of all, where are you from?
I'm from Miami, Florida.
Oh, great. Yeah. So first of all, we have a lot of branches in Miami, so we'd love to have your business. So TD Bank I think they're a fabulous bank. They're actually, they were originally a bank called Commerce Bank. And their whole model is around being America's most convenient bank. And I admire them, and I think they're a great institution in that sense. What we've found, we have some branches that are open. We're open pretty much as long as them in most markets. In Miami, we probably close at 6, not 7, and we should probably look at that. We're not open on Sundays in most of our branches. Over the years, we've tested it, and we just don't get a lot of customers who come into the branch on Sundays. And it's difficult to justify the cost. Having said that, my boss would argue that we ought to be willing to take a risk and see if we can get a halo effect from being more convenient, from being open on Sundays. Should we do that, and that'll allow us to grow our business? And the honest answer to the question is I don't know. So we'll probably continue to test it. Maybe we'll think about testing it in Miami. Yeah. Welcome to the job. Here's your business that's down $1 billion. We've had a couple headwinds in our business. The first is we made a lot of changes to the way we process overdrafts about a year ago. And then there were also some regulations that came out on that. We happened to have made the changes before the regulations, but those changes had an impact on our earnings that we have yet to earn back through more customers and more loyal customers, but we believe we will. The second big change that happened is the Dodd-Frank amendment was passed, and as part of that amendment, as part of that law, there was an amendment called the Durbin Amendment, which regulated the interchange rate that merchants pay when you use your debit card and go to Martin's or go to wherever you go to buy something on your debit card. That's a significant change for our business as well. So the short answer is the environment and regulations have had a big impact on the profitability of our business. Interest rates are also extraordinarily low right now and will be for a long time, which in a business where you're taking deposits from customers and investing those, if interest rates are low, it's more challenging to make money. Having said all that, the way we look at this business is we look at it over the long term. Through the cycle is kind of a buzzword that we use to think about it. And it's something I'd encourage all of you to do when you're in any business. It's really easy to make decisions based on what something looks like today, but if you're a shareholder, you're really not investing in today or next year or next year. You're investing in what is this business going to be like over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And the way we try to make decisions is, what is this business going to look like? What's the profitability going to look like over the long term or through the cycle? And if we have the ability to make investments now while the business is under some duress and some pressure financially, we'll be that much more competitive as the cycle turns. So that's kind of where we are in the business right now. Yeah.
You spoke a lot about various national or natural disasters, Irene and then San Diego, which was caused by just a single bang or a tornado.
In like Yuma or something like that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Or what's in the works to change so that you're able to deal with it?
No, it's great. So we've learned a lot. And by the way, I picked August, to be honest, just because I picked up my calendar from last month because I was trying to help you. July, June, May, it's just the point I was trying to make is the reality of a business when you have a distributed network with distributed people, you're everywhere. You know, as they say, just like stuff happens. So it doesn't matter. I mean, just like every month something's going wrong in the country and it affects our customers and our people. We try to learn from every one of them. So to your point on Irene and others, you know, what I realized in Irene is we don't have enough generators deployed. And so I was like, we got to get more generators. Well, then a week or two later, San Diego happened, and I said, well, move the generators that we need to have and get them in place. Well, somebody said, well, we got more generators, but they're all in New York. Well, what the hell are they doing in New York? We have, you know, we have branches everywhere. We learned, okay, so we need more generators to get our branches open. But not only that, we got to have generators kind of staged around the country that are within a 6-hour drive of any city so that we can move them fast enough. You know, we learned how better to get a hold of people. We learned text messaging is better to get a hold of people when their cell phones are low on battery than calling trees. Right? Just obviously it takes less battery to text message. So we've turned a lot of our calling trees for our people into text message trees. You know, because you think through, okay, you're in a hurricane, the power's low, they may not be able to talk, but you can text message. I mean, a whole bunch of just nitty-gritty details like that. But, you know, the point we do all this is so that we can get open faster, we can be open to help our customers. And, you know, the funny thing about disasters is when something goes wrong, people need cash. That's like the first, you know, they need water. It's like Maslow a little bit, right? I mean, if you have shelter and water, the next thing you need is cash. And people, that's what people want in a disaster. So we're trying to make sure we'll be there to help them and be there faster and quicker and better than our competitors are.
I was impressed by your hostage taking for getting retrospective feedback on your frontline workers. I was wondering if you also tried to get prospective feedback from the actual frontline people on things that you're planning in the future.
Yeah, so we do. And this is, for me, this is like one of the biggest things you can do as a leader is you got to get feedback. So there's a little bit more on the reactive feedback, and then I'll answer your question. You know, we set up something we call banker feedback, where any employee in any branch or any call center can send in feedback, and we get hundreds of them every day. And I read a lot of them. And we make changes based on them, and then we tell everybody what we changed. To answer your question on prospective feedback, we use our people to pretty much test everything. So if we're going to make a change to a product, if we're going to make a change to a technology, if we're going to roll out things like that, we'll have our employees demo it. We'll have friends and family pilots with them. We'll do focus groups with them so that we can figure out what's going to work and not work. And we learn, as I said before, we learn more from that than we probably do anything else. Good question. Thank you. Question up in the back.
Huge impact of serving customers better, having employees who enjoy what they're doing. When serving customers better demands like longer work hours, when there's not hiring going on during economy. At what point do you hire new workers versus asking existing employees to work overtime, do more tasks? Good compromise.
Yeah. First of all, one of the first things you said is a very important insight. I don't think I mentioned it, so I just want to share it with everybody, which is, you said, if you want satisfied customers, you have to have satisfied employees. It's absolutely true. It is, you find a business out there where the employees are unhappy, but the customers are happy. I'd love to see it. I don't think it exists. And if it exists, it'll erode over time. With regards to overtime, we try to be flexible and let our people work how they want to work. When I got into this business about a year ago, I actually looked at the numbers on our personal bankers. We have about 20,000 personal bankers, the people in our branches that help our clients, and realized that they were working way, way too much overtime. What had happened is our district managers and our branch managers, it wasn't that they were just trying to work them hard. They had not been effective at hiring new people as they should be. So the thing about our firm is, we strongly encourage our people to hire the right number of people to do what they need to do, but the fact of the matter is, it's really hard to hire people. And you'll all find this. It still remains probably one of the hardest things that I have to do. Find people and convince them to come work for me. It's hard. I don't care who you are. And so they hadn't been doing their job and hiring people, and as a result, the personal bankers were working too much overtime. So, I get a weekly report on personal banker overtime. It might be monthly now because we've actually started to get it back in line. But I agree with, I think, the point of your question, which is we need to give people the right work balance in their lives and make sure they're happy and enjoying themselves so they can help our customers.
Hey, lady.
On a different note, you started off your conversation with telling us how at Notre Dame you learned a lot in the classroom, but you learned even more outside of the classroom.
I did, yeah.
Now you're CEO of Chase, and I can only imagine your time is in demand. How do you find that balance between working at Chase and running it and time with your family? Because I know a lot of us are in public accounting and we'll start our career next year, and it seems like it can be kind of a challenge when you're working 60 plus hours a week.
No, I've heard the first year of public accounting is a breeze. Especially at tax time. It's like, so I thought you were going to ask me, how do I find time to get back to Notre Dame football games? But I was back for the Florida game this year, and it was unbelievably hot. I couldn't believe it. I had 2 of my boys with me. And then I woke up this morning, came on campus. I couldn't believe how cold it is. It's just amazing. And I need to leave tonight, but I'll be back for the USC game. I'm religious about it. And I went through a period in my life where I wasn't. And it was before I had a family. And I often rationalized it as, it's my time that I'm using, and so I'm not hurting anybody else. But the truth of the matter is, whenever I would get lazy on managing my work-balanced life, I was hurting myself. I was less of a person. I wasn't healthy. And you have to absolutely manage it. It probably sounds funny to some of you. You have to manage your personal life and make the time and do whatever you need to do. Schedule it, push back on anybody, but you have to make the time. So I work very, very hard, but whenever I'm in town, I'm home by 7 o'clock with my kids. I put them to bed. I commute in and out of Rye, New York to Manhattan. Whenever I'm on the road, like last night, I FaceTime with my boys on my iPad. And I try to be religious about the fact that I need to schedule time for myself. Weekends are sacred, as much as they can be, unless there's, something that pulls me back into work. I guess my message to you in your first year of being an accountant or anything else is just don't get too caught up in it. Schedule the time, be disciplined. There's always more work to do. The prize for the pie eating contest is more pie. So, it's always going to be there, and just find the time to take for yourself.
We have time for one more question. Yeah, please.
Talk about the geographic expansion of branches, but we know the cost of branches. How do you manage costs?
You have a class on this?
Yeah.
What's the class? What? Oh, cool. Well, how much do you think it costs to run a branch? They are. Someone's right and someone's wrong, by the way. Either we're right and B of A is wrong, or no, they are. They're closing. They've said they're going to close about 10% of their branches. The truth of the matter is, let me answer that point because I walked into it, and then I'll answer your question. B of A is closing branches because they're in markets where they've got too many branches. In Los Angeles, they're like the #1 bank there. They've got a gazillion branches. We're in Los Angeles. We're like the number 6 or 7 player. So we're just starting from different positions. That's the only situation. It is expensive. It's expensive to open a branch. It's expensive to run a branch. It costs us a couple $1 million to build a branch. It also takes people and a lot of resources to do that. By the way, it's a huge investment in the economy and the community. Every time we open up a branch, there's dozens and dozens and dozens of people that work for a year and a half to get that thing open. And they're not, they're local people. They're carpenters. They're electricians. They're, people cleaning up the ground. So, it's an important investment in the community. But we do it because it makes financial sense. And as you might imagine, we crawl through the numbers. Every branch, I sign off on every branch that we open. And as I said, we're going to open about 300 of them. It's a lot of paper to read and sign, but it's that important to me. And we look at the numbers, and if it's the right thing to do for our customers, and we look at the economics, if it's the right thing to do economically, we open it. But one of the things that we do is when we look at the economics, as I mentioned earlier, we look at the economics through the cycle. So, because remember, we're opening these branches for 30, 40, 50 years, not for the next 3 years. And so we try to understand, what are the economics going to look like over the cycle. But it is expensive, and we think it makes financial sense.
Okay, well, I'd like to thank Ryan for showing. And I would really like to make a statement about Ryan. There's often comments that, are you a son or daughter of Notre Dame? And if you think about what Ryan talked about today, he's in the banking business. He certainly is out there making money. But through all of his decisions that he talked about today, he's reminded you that there's more to being an executive than just making money. Take care of your people, take care of your customers, take care of your country, community service, and take care of your family. So it's exactly what we want all of you to do. Go out and seek those kind of opportunities, but don't forget about those most important things in life. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Some gifts you can be ready for the game.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Good luck, everybody. Have fun.